Welcome everyone to Raizup Sweden's panel discussion this month on social media and your brand. We have an amazing panel today, including Rickard Amidani, a social media specialist at Nordic Hotels and Resorts, Becca Sulocki, stylist and art director at Lager and Sulocki, and Lisa Volkamer, social media strategist at BCD Travel. My name is Marjorie Sundström, and I am the co-chapter leader of Raizup Sweden, together with the lovely Evelyn Hamilton. For those of you who don't know, Raizup is a global community for the hospitality and travel tech industry. It is a personalized career platform where members aim to inspire, empower, and elevate one another. Evelyn and I joined forces earlier this year to launch the Raizup community here in Sweden. We want to bring our industry together, highlight great people, and retain talent in our industry, even through these difficult times. And we also have chapter leaders all over the world bringing together this truly inclusive community. You can find out more on weraizup.com. Today, we're looking forward to diving deeper into what makes a successful social media strategy and how to utilize beautiful and engaging content. We also look at the differences between corporate branding and personal branding. And lastly, we'll discuss how we can generate measurable results. I'll now hand you over to Evelyn, who will go through the housekeeping for the event today. Over to you, Evelyn.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I've muted everyone by default, so we won't be disrupted by latecomers. But when you do want to talk, just click the microphone icon in the bottom bar to mute or unmute yourself. And you can unmute yourself near the end of the talk, and we'll be able to hear your questions. You can also choose to have your camera on or off. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking, and that helps minimize that presenting underwater sound and interruptions from any barking dogs. When the panel is talking, please write in the chat box and let me know if you can't see or hear something. And also welcome to use the chat box throughout the panel talk, and I'll be able to ask the questions as we go along. And if you want to ask questions at the end also, feel free to unmute yourselves and we can have a chat. Over to you, Marjorie.
Great, thank you, Evelyn. So we'll get started with just a quick introduction. Rickard, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, please. Rickard Amidani is my name, and I'm a social media expert or social media specialist and e-com expert on Nordic Hotels and Resorts. Nordic Hotels and Resorts is one of the 4 legs in the Nordic Choice Hotels organization, and we have approximately 40 hotels in the premium section. So my job is to convert on the websites for all those 40 hotels and optimize like the digital sales, and also try to build some strategy for all the hotels and find the branding voice when it comes to the social media. So I have a lot of experience and a lot of data to see what's the pattern to compare the 40 hotels. It's really interesting because you can see how the human behavior is working, and hopefully my experience can help you guys today. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Rickard.
Thank you.
And Becca?
Good morning. I'm muted, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Can hear you. We can
hear you.
Good morning. So I am Becca Sulocki, half of Lager and Sulocki. I have worked within food styling for over 25 years, and more recently decided to specialize in social media and styling for social media, seeing such a big shift in the market and advertising. And also the need to reach your customers and future clients in a very different way, so that you're going straight into their home, their heart and soul of what they're looking for, and understanding the growth of your business and how to reach the correct people at the correct time. And also for your social media account to become very much an ongoing story that can represent very fast changes in the seasons, your food, your staff, your ethos as a business, so that it's a fast running visual diary to keep people interacted.
Great, thank you very much, Becca. And Lisa.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Lisa Volkamer. I'm responsible for BCT Travel's global social media activities. I do not live in Sweden. I live in Germany, here in a little village between Bremen and Hamburg. And I actually started my career in journalism with a job at a little newspaper and studied journalism. But quite soon I got fascinated by the PR and marketing world and have had already various jobs at different companies in marketing and PR, but never in the travel industry. And I joined BCT Travel 5 years ago. And after having different marketing jobs for EMEA there, I took over the global social media responsibility at the beginning of 2019. Despite the challenges in the travel industry that got so much bigger because of the pandemic, I'm quite fascinated by the travel industry. And I think that's probably because of the constant change and the opportunities this change brings. I watched the first Raizup Sweden panel and heard panelists talking about their philosophy. And I would say that my philosophy is don't be afraid to fail. This is something I only needed to learn during my career and during my life because I grew up with a different mindset. But now I really embrace this because it gives you so much room for learning and improving. And I would say that this is also a good foundation for a successful social media strategy. Don't be afraid to try things and don't be afraid to try things that are not successful, because only this way you can improve what you're doing on social media. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you so much to you guys for being on our panel today. We're going to kick it off with just talking about what makes a successful social media strategy. Rickard, you have some steps there if you want to take us through that.
Thank you so much. It depends. First of all, it's always about the audience group. That's the first step in all the strategy. You need to know who you're targeting. You need to know why you target just that person or that clientele. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, let's say that we targeted 40-year-old women because we see that they are the most commercial strongest. Then we have to ask ourselves, okay, so is this the business to consumer way or is it business to business? So let's say this is a business consumer way, and we can target them, for example, on Facebook and Instagram primarily. Then, for example, LinkedIn, they're more business to business targeted. So in this area, we have the platform. Now we need to understand what's their challenges and what's the drive forces. Why are they following us? What's the trigger point? And the best thing to do with from the beginning is always to have some kind of strategy. Okay, we know where they are and we want to like use this kind of story, for example, and then test it by just produce and be very, very prestigious, not prestigious, but be so prestigious, less maybe the word, but you know, just be very, very consistent every single day. Try. And here comes the secret. You need to be very, very, very good at analyzing the data, because the data is going to give you, how you say, the honesty, like the whole situation, what's right and wrong, not what you think. This is a game of outside and in, and not the other way around. So when we have all this data, and then we can go back and see, okay, so I know that I want this 40-year-old woman with child. Okay, we have now put out, for example, 100 pieces of content. What works, what not? If we see that no, nothing works, then we just have to go back again and start from zero. But also with this experience that we have gained from the data, we know that we're not going to optimize from the wrong lane. We're just going to switch, how you say, the content producement for something else. Because in the end of the day, this is a commercial channel. Everyone is a commercial channel. And our main target is to earn money, right? And to earn money, we need to understand what makes the audience group click on buy. So step one, always find the audience group. Who do I want to target? This is the most crucial element of all, because if we don't know who, then we can never set a strategy. Then I can give you 5 points that's not going to give you anything. So who, what, which platform, when, for example, what content are going to give them a reason to buy, and then just analyze, optimize, adjust, analyze, optimize, adjust, analyze all over again. Because what's worked today maybe not work tomorrow, example. So I know that you guys get like, okay, so Rickard, what's the new growth stack? How can I just click once and everything is going to be great? What's the magic 8-ball here? The magic 8-ball is hard work, by be consistent, by analyzing all the time to see what's working, what's not, and what's not working, delete it. What's working, optimize it. Just crush it. It's like a stock. When you find a stock, you put in so much money that you can optimize it. And when you see the stock is going down, then you put your money back, right? It's the same thing with the social media. So that's crucial. Always adjust, optimize, analyze. I cannot tell you anymore. And like I said, learn about audience group. Be obsessed about your audience group, because that's the one who's going to pay your salary. So that's my keys. It's not very, yeah, I'm very passionate about this. So I'm sorry, guys, if my enthusiasm just took over, but hopefully you got the message, right?
That's fantastic. And we can clearly see your passion for that.
And if I may add to that, because I totally agree with Rickard, and I'd like to emphasize that for social media and the whole online world, you don't need to think about doing things right or wrong, but focus on improving things. That's what Rickard said as well, right? You need to start with a plan and try things, measure your activities, evaluate the results, and then improve and repeat. But yeah, you need to be agile and flexible, but you need to have a plan. And I also like to say that one of the first steps, besides defining your target group and learning where your target group, where you can find your target group, you need to set goals. And this is also one of the major pitfalls, I think, in terms of social media strategy. You need to link your goals to your business goals, because on social media, there's a lot you can measure, and all the numbers you can get out of social media, like followers, impressions, engagement, and so forth, are helpful for you to understand how your social media activities are performing. But in the end, you want to know how your social media activity contributes to your business goals. How can you earn money? And so you need to make sure that you link those goals.
Fantastic. Becca, how could you tell us a little bit about how Lager and Sulocki are working with this? Because you guys are working, well, Rickard too, you kind of working with different brands. And Rickard made a very good point there, knowing your audience according to your brand. How do you juggle that when you're working with many different brands? You're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Lisa and Rickard, I think, covered very well the strategy side and the background of your account. I think the very important message to also remember as a parallel to that is your visual story. And that's why people are looking at primarily Instagram accounts. They want to feel they know, they experience the business, the atmosphere, the lifestyle elements before they even visit. And in these sort of days of advertising, people aren't looking in magazines, they're not seeing things on TV in the same ways, they're looking on their accounts, and it's fast, it needs to be continual, and it needs to keep the attention span of your future customers and also your present, and deliver what they expect from your brand. So for that, you need to know who you're appealing to, when they're looking at their accounts, and how you're planning to grow your market. And I think a big mistake a lot of companies make is they use people within their present teams, which can work really well for their social media. Most people now have an iPhone with a fantastic camera and filters and all the editing techniques. But they might take 10 fantastic pictures, and then they might take 5 bad ones. And that instantly is dropping your account and the quality of what you're delivering. And I think that's unfair and disrespectful to your teams. And when they're employed to do something like be a chef or their head of front of house, let them do that. Let them excel at what they do and what they're trained to do. There's also an interesting overlap with what we do and perhaps influencers. But I feel influencers, there is definitely an area of the market that's very important for them, and they're used a lot in hospitality. But also to remember that they are always there to promote their own brand. They promote themselves as an influencer or the brands they represent. They're not understanding the USP of your business. They're not doing the background research. And in a year's time, they may not even be still working within social media and providing content. So you lose the continuity. And if you actually employ specialists to look after your accounts, you can always be looking ahead seasonally and with menus and having a very fast direction to the accounts. So suddenly it's snowing again in Stockholm. You can get pictures on again of the beautiful snow and people being cozy in blankets again. And then the next day it's sunny and they're outside with cocktails and enjoying the sunshine. And it is that fast that you need to be able to twist and turn your account so that people feel you're respecting them as the viewer and that you're acknowledging what's happening. And it's fast, 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 and a continual high level of service.
How do we actually have a question here on the chat that came up. How do we convince the hospitality businesses that social media is something that requests serious attention? That's one of our biggest challenges here in Africa, from Celine, who's the African chapter leader.
Can I answer, because I love the question? I read it before. So how can we convince hospitality business? My answer is that we don't need to, because if you understand the power of social media, because what we have today is we have the best time in our modern era, because we have all the people we want to target in one square meter, for an apartment. We have them on one platform. We cannot even get this targeted before we need to send some paper, what you call it, reklamblad, whatever. Now we just have them in our reach. We have them in a digital campaign, and those who understand the power of social media are the one who are going to win the game, because this is a game. This is a game of commercial. So, in my opinion, if you have understood this power of the social media in Africa, just optimize it. Just use it to your advantage. I mean, we have so many competitors today, and we need to, in Europe, we just struggle to be the one who comes with our message in front of the right person at the right time to be able to get a purchase. If you don't have that kind of challenge, use it as an advantage. That's my opinion. Because like I said, in the end of the game, this is a conversion game, always.
Yeah. What's your advice to hotels and also to the travel industry to understand the game, to play the game?
You can use data, because data don't lie, numbers don't lie. And what I think is that we need to educate our industry, because we're living so far away from the modern era many times, actually. And if you see, for example, software companies, SaaS, they live in a commercial era where it's 2.0 now. For example, IKEA here in Sweden are going to robots. In hospitality, we don't even know the strength of the social media, right? We are so far behind. So we need to educate the leaders who understand the digital game, and also let's forward the millennials, the young people who have grown up with this stuff, to get them to always also educate the older ones. So with the experience of the older ones, and when the experience from the millennials, I think we can get a great balance with so much competence and so much experience in the same way. Because when you're older, you have so much experience, you learn so much about how people works and patterns and etc. But millennials have grown up with an iPad in their hands. They know what every attribute there is. They know how an app works. They don't know how to calculate in the head, but they know how the calculation works, you know? So use the two forces and let the millennials up and give them some leading position, because they're going to change the world. And we move now to a digital era. So my answer is trust the younger one also as well, and find the balance between the older and the young, and we will get the best of both worlds. That's my answer.
Well, that's a great question. I've got a question for the panel, if that's okay, Marjorie. Philip Carey has asked everyone about data points and what's the most crucial for people to look at when they start digging into it. And I think that'd be a great question for Lisa from a TMC point of view. When you are looking at data through social media and selling, what do you look at first?
This is not easy to answer because it really depends on your goals. Let's say your main goal is to generate leads. Then you need to look at your website and to see what traffic comes from social media and who converts into a lead in the end. On the other side, if, for example, your business goal is you'd like to improve the response time for your customers, you need to check how your response time is on your social media channels and see how you can improve it. So this is what I meant by business goals, right? You need to see what is really important for your business and how can you contribute to those goals. And then you need to go for your own social media activities. You need to see, let's say you just opened your social media account, then your main goal is at the beginning to gain followers. So you need to look at the followers, you need to look at the engagement. How do people engage with your posts? Do they just follow you and then the stuff you're posting is not interesting for them? Then your engagement rate is quite bad. So yeah, it's hard to answer because there's so much you can track, and it really depends on your business goals and on the goals for your social media channels.
I think also that's an interesting point though with the followers, that the best accounts have not necessarily got the most followers, and there is no point having 800,000 followers with only 10 likes for a post and no interaction. There has to be the interaction and the understanding of what people are looking for, and also very, very regular maintenance of the account to improve the algorithms and keep it at a sort of premium performing rate. If an account is just left, it will sink. So I think, for example, buying followers is just, it's a waste of money. It's ridiculous. Use the money instead to push posts that you're using and promote things. Be clever about where your money goes and understand who you're targeting and when they're looking at social media, so that you're always forward planning your posts. And sort of once a month, you decide what time of day they're going to be posted on which day, and whether it's a Friday and that's a good time to be pushing drinks and cocktails, and just really be very specific about where you're going with it, and you will reach the optimum sort of comeback with your clients.
Becca, from a content perspective, what do you see is gives the best engagement? What do you recommend, or what's your advice for generating content that gives the best engagement?
I think it's depending on the business. If it's a hotel, it's very much a lifestyle element that they're buying into a story and they're buying into an experience. If it's a restaurant, obviously the food, the drinks, human elements are always very, very popular. People love to see, you know, their favorite waiter, their favorite bartender, their favorite barista. They like to see people they recognize. And I think that's also sort of shows respect to the team members, and also it's nice for regular customers to have that interaction. But I think it should be used very much. The Instagram should be used as a story and a visual diary. So it's a very beautiful condensed package. And then the Instagram should be used, the LinkedIn should be used more as a focus for business, so you can explain to other businesses how they use their social media and explain to the marketing managers the importance and the leverage that is within that tool at their disposal.
That's a beautiful way of putting it, a visual diary of your company. I think that's a really lovely way of describing it. And we've talked a lot now about the human aspect of social media, and that there can be many people in an organization who can generate content for your organization. What do you guys see as the differences between personal branding and corporate branding? Lisa, do you want to maybe hop in there, because you work a lot more with the corporate and the B2B side of things with travel there?
I think for the personal branding, it depends on your individual position. Are you employed? Are you an entrepreneur? For someone who is employed, I would really think about my personal social media accounts and think about, what do I want to do with them? Do I, for example, want to act as a brand ambassador? If I'm in sales, I probably need to use my social media accounts. I need to use LinkedIn for my business activities. So I have no choice. I need to be a ambassador for my brand. But there are also values for individuals that are not in sales for using their social media accounts as brand ambassadors, because you can, for example, position yourself as a thought leader for your company or for your industry, and it could help you during your career. And you also need to think about what can people find if they are looking for you online. If you have your true name everywhere on all the social media accounts, they will find you everywhere, and you will be automatically be seen as a representative of your company. So you can really influence what people find if they are looking for you. So I would say you also need to have or define a little strategy for your personal social media accounts. Think about, where do you want to have platforms, where do you want to be on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever, and then think of, okay, what do you want to show on the certain platforms? How do you want to position yourself? And also for an entrepreneur, think about, okay, I need the social media accounts for my business on the one hand, but then what do I do with my personal social media brand? Where do I want to be? What should people find there? Do I really want to position myself as a thought leader? Do I want to have engagement on social media on this personal level? Or do I want to just use social media as a virtual business card so that people can find some basic information about me? I think this is something I would do as an individual. Just define a strategy for my personal accounts.
Jana Tiskiewicz has got a great question, actually. She says, if you want to leverage your employees to represent your brand on social, what's the best way to encourage them?
Can you repeat that question? What's the best way to
encourage them to use social media? So if you have a lot of employees, how do you encourage them to use social media?
Yeah. So first of all, I can say that there's really power in letting your staff act as brand ambassadors on social media, because there are numbers out there, you can research them, that people really trust in people. They trust more in people than in anonymous brand accounts. So when your staff is acting as brand ambassadors on social media, that's really useful for you. And I would just give them the freedom to do so. And you cannot urge people, because it wouldn't be authentic. You need to give them the freedom. And I can tell you that a lot of people do want to talk about their employer on social media. They do want to act as brand ambassadors. And there are different ways to support them. It also depends probably on the size of your company and on the resources you have. There are companies that really have so-called corporate influencer programs in place. So they they work with volunteers throughout the companies, have, I don't know, monthly calls or so, connect with them, and yeah, motivate them to act as those corporate influencers. And yeah, in this case, you can also give them some policies and guidelines to give them some certainty when they are posting on social media. I wouldn't make it too complex, too complicated, because that's daunting for people. But I also can tell you from my experience that people want to have some guidelines. They want to know what they are allowed to talk about and whatnot.
I'd say from that point of view as well, it's very important that people have a very clear core message, so that if you have lots of people saying different things, which is lovely, but they're all coming from a core base, so that it doesn't become confusing and just kind of noise around the business. It needs to be a slightly directed message as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Rickard, have you got any experience on that from Nordic
Yeah,
Hotels and Resorts?
I am very active on on our brand in social, and maybe taking a risk in it, but it don't matter, because in my opinion it's like leadership. The leader works for the staff and not the way around. And if you want to encourage your employees to be able to like expose themselves and really share your brand, and then you need to get them to have some emotional connection with the brand as well, because when you expose yourself, you're not like an individual. It's your core basis. It's you who like make the decision. So you need to feel I say to feel bounded with the brand, like my panel colleagues said, Lisa and Rebecca, that you need to give them the freedom to be able to grow. You need them to give them like the freedom to make an initiative, even if it's wrong or right, no matter, because you believe in them, and they will reward that by believing in the brand. And from the end of the day, I really hope that you love what you work with. Otherwise, you maybe should look around. And if you love what you do, of course, you will stand by side on the company, because you want to see the growth. You want to be a part of something bigger, and that's why I think it's the core base to be able to overcome the fear and expose yourself. That's my thought on that.
Thank you so much, Rickard. That really ties in a lot to also what we talked about last month on leadership as well, about how focusing more so, like you say, the leader works for the staff, not the other way around. I wonder, is that a kind of a Swedish, almost a uniquely Swedish thing as well, though, because we are so much open to being a non-hierarchical society. Do you think that helps for companies to have a social media strategy?
Me, 100%. But I want to also make a metaphor, or very clarify when it comes to marketing. I want all our great audience here to understand that the leadership, that the leader work for the employees another way, or the colleagues another way around. It's the same thing with marketing. We work for the audience another way around. We need to have the same growth mindset. That's the key. That's the key to everything. If we understand the audience group in the first hand and ourselves in the second, we're going to win. It's the same thing when it comes to the leadership, in my experience. And I think that we have understood in Sweden, yeah, we are not so hierarchy and point with the whole hand. I think that we have understood the psychology on human beings, that if you want a person to do something, you need them to want to do it and not force them to anything, because it's a short-term solution. Otherwise, if you want to make them like expose yourself, if we go back to the second the last question, if you want them to expose themselves and like stand hand in hand with the brand, you need them to take the action, not the other way around. You can't force them, even if they're salesmen or not. It don't matter, because if you don't want to, you don't want to. It's simple as that. It's a short-term solution. So yeah, I think that we have come very, very far in Sweden when it comes to leadership, because in the end of the day, it's the employees who makes the company, not the brand itself. And a good CEO understands that if I take care of my employees, they're going to give me everything in return. And together we are a team. And we have so many competence, like I said, with the generation Y and the older one. If we can make them come together, we can create miracles. Otherwise, we can't create anything. So I'm very proud that we are coming so far in Sweden when it comes to leadership. We have great leaders here, yeah. Especially in hospitality, I think we are one of the best, actually.
I think also something very important with leaders within Sweden, that they seem to be prepared to step back, that they understand they employ a very high caliber professional, and they let them have their trust and their faith that they will do that job to the best of their ability. One of our clients, a restaurant group, the owner, when he interviewed us, said, "I only employ the best of the best. You will never hear from me. If you hear from me, there is a problem. You just don't hear from me." And in over a year, we've heard from him once to say, thankfully, we were doing a good job. But he just doesn't get involved. He employs people who understand what they're doing, and he understands running a business and setting up restaurants, and that's what he does. And I think that's it's putting a lot of trust in the people that you employ, but that also is very empowering to your teams. And you want to grow and do as much as you possibly can for that person and that business.
Like I said, in the end of the day, it's psychology. We people are not so complicated. Yeah, we are different personalities and all that, but we are made in the same way. We all have an amygdala. We all have limbic brain. We all have like a structure from the beginning. Then we have core values and all, etc., etc. But if we understand the psychology of how the human mind are built, then we understand how to gain more trust, or you can call it manipulative, but you can also call it inspiring and psychology competent. And you can, in that way, also build a rapport by giving trust as well. So we people just want to be seen and heard. That's it. That's simple, is it? And if a leader just see that, okay, you know what, you're doing a great job, then you have an ambassador for life. That's it. You don't have to be more complex. So I told you the secret. Just love your staff and everything else will fall around. My biggest opinion, this is very important. I was a person, before I go into the hospitality, my mentor said to me, you have one big problem. Yeah, you do all the results, but you're so I-driven. I do this, and I am. He made me do, like I said to you guys today, do a mindset shift from I to they. When you win, it's their accomplishment, not you guys. And when you lose, it's yours. And when he turned me around, and then I understand, but it makes me be so prestigious. I can't be prestigious, right? No, you can't. But if you need to, then you can't be a leader. If you ain't, then you're the perfect one. And today, I don't need to get the credit, because you need also to have some kind of self-confidence and self-esteem to understand that you're good as you are. So everything comes together, and it's the same with marketing. If you can't take a no, you're in the wrong business. If you can't take a no as a salesman, you're in the wrong business. If you can't take a no as a leader, you're in the wrong business. As simple as that. So love yourself exactly the same as the audience group, and we have figured it all. So like I say in the beginning, love your audience, and everything else, all the growth hacks and all the strategy, yada, 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 is going to come to an end. It's no problem. Just love them. That's what I can say, and not be so prestigious as you just can be.
So if we're all happy in our company and we all love each other and our customers love us, yeah, how are we going to see the results? How do we best measure results from social media?
I'm sorry. C'ero felice di essere al mondo. I'm sorry. What do you say?
Sorry. How do we measure the results from social media? What is the best way to see the results?
It depends. If you come on, for example, paid social, when you put money on it, I always measure on click-through rate, CTR, which means that this is very important, that when you do a Facebook ad, and Google ad and everything else, we need to understand the mathematics that it's 2 points. It's cost per acquisition. How much does it cost to gain a purchase, and how much can we invest to gain that purchase? Which means our value is, for example, 100 kronas or 100 euro. So we have 100 euro, but we gain a customer by CPA by 10 euro, which is 10 times less than we can spend on it, which means that we're going to get 10 times the ROI, return on investment, when it comes to it. So everything comes down to mathematics. How much can I put to gain a customer? And that's how you win. If you can put any more, as much as you can put in, the more clients you will gain. It's, for example, when you come to this, I always come to the stock market. If you gain a stock on twice as much, you have they made a good business, right? This is stocks and steroids, because you get 10 times instead of 2 times a year, right? So very simple. CPA and how much am I ready to put in? Very, 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 very crucial to understand this one. And then when it comes to CTR, click-through rate, it's because we need to understand how many are going to like get our message and click through to our landing page, because we're not going to sell on our ad. Yeah, we can say, oh, hey, my name is Rickard, we are Nordic Hotels, and you can book a room for 49 euro. Yes, that's the core message, but they can't book, right? They need to be able to go to landing page, and there is where we hook them. We have get them with the not clickbait, with the hook. We get them to with our core message to hook them into our landing page, and then we need to use the psychology, like my colleague said before, like references. What do people like this? Because we people make decisions of what other people think. It's very, very crucial. What people think. What's the issue? You know, what's the location, etc., etc., etc. You just build the unique selling points, everything that can make them build a core value. So it measures with the price, because we people always measure, when it comes to the psychology, value versus price. If the price is too high versus the value, we're not going to purchase. If it's the other way around, we're going to purchase, and we're going to say, man, I made a great deal. That's why we always, you know, myself always fall for the Black Friday and that stuff. I know I shouldn't, but I just click it home, because always. And if you just want to use also a growth hack that's really, really, really effective, it's scarcity. Then you don't need to like, okay, this is going to disappear in a minute, but you can need something like, okay, so usually we have 10 rooms, and this is the one we front, and they are, most of the time, they are going to book them. So people know that, okay, I need to take an action, I need to take it quickly. And if you're going to study some industry that are really, really, really good at it, I recommend you to study the airplane company. They are amazing on it. Just modelize them. So CTR, when it comes to social media, like Lisa said before, is engagement. I always measure on engagement, because if people interact, they have take time from their valuable life to give you some kind of confirmation. And then you need to, like, when it comes to leadership, be respectful as well, and give them the currency, right?
Currency, yeah.
Currency to be able to give them the respect that I have seen, I have heard. Thank you so much for this one. And when people interact, it means that something made them interact, which is the right content, in my opinion. You can measure on so many levels, but I just want to summarize it, because this is the most crucial things when it comes to marketing and people not getting it. Paid social, CPA, what's the cost, and how much can you invest? Click-through rate is the one who we see how many go forth. And when it comes to the otherwise, just see an engagement rate. If you get a good engagement rate, something is wrong, something is right. And if you can test it over and over again and you see the pattern, just follow it. That's how I've been taught.
Wow. That was amazing. We're coming close to the end now. Evelyn, do you have any questions there from the chat?
Yeah, Jamie Brown has actually asked a question to Rickard, but I think Rebecca could also answer it too. It says, to what extent do you think visual quality of the location has an effect on CTRs and pricing structures variances versus reviews or awareness? Gosh.
I think they all have an importance within the structure of what you're doing. They all support each other. You need to have a high quality and a high caliber of each area so that you deliver that standard on all sort of levels. There's no point having fantastic, beautiful content and not following that up with very good copy and knowing where you're posting it and who it's reaching. And there's no point having reviews on TripAdvisor that say that your breakfast buffet is disgusting and then never addressing that on your social media and only showing beautiful cocktails. So it needs to be a really inclusive story, looking at all elements that feed in to the experience, the core of the experience that your customers are looking for and anticipate.
I agree, Becca. I totally agree. I have done some, because we talk about hospitality here, right? This question, right, Jamie?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
so.
sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, in the context of hospitality, of course. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. But
Okay.
yeah, of course, hospitality. Yeah.
Great question. I did so many campaigns when it comes to this one, especially now under the pandemic, and what I have noticed when it comes to by doing maybe 400 or 500 different campaigns for 40 different hotels in 4 different countries is that the CTR are for us are lower when you can present the price like quickly, but the CTR who go through are much more qualified and made. We have a higher percentages of purchases because they have understood what the area is like. What's the price area here? Because many times we see people like in low quality that goes in, click through rate and see, okay, so what's the cost of 4,000? No, it's too much for me, you know. But if we can front with the price directly, they understand what the price range is like taken care of. Now we just here to build the rapport and build the trust, like Rebecca says, with reviews. Reviews is so important when it comes to the hospitality. We did this big research on Nordic Choice that we saw that for 1 year we just made all these 210 hotels to see, okay, how we have one person, a team of 2, we just sit with this all day long for a whole year, and then they presented it and said, okay, so we have done a study based on 210 hotels, and what we have noticed is that 83% of our customers on Nordic Choice hotels are making their purchase based on the reviews, which means that 8.3% out of 10, it's almost everyone here is going to purchase based on what a stranger said, right? So yeah,
and I
it
think
has power.
Looking at that, it's very important. When we get a new client, we trawl for days through TripAdvisor comments, and you will have people commenting on ridiculous things, in which case you don't need to address them. But when there are people commenting on the quality of the room, the interiors, there's treatment by staff members, these are things that you have to address. You have to be straight sort of forward with them and honest and very directive, so that doesn't become something that puts people off. And you don't need to read the great reviews because they're great, people are happy. So it's always the negative. Read the negative and work on those and create a more positive vibe, and always reply to bad reviews is another thing that I'm sure Marjorie you would all agree with. Have respect and always get back to people.
I think that we could almost do a separate event on TripAdvisor alone and invite Monica Hilm on that as well, because she's actually, her whole kind of social media started off with a LinkedIn post about TripAdvisor as well.
And for companies, it'd be Glassdoor. I think that's probably a big one that people look at. It's the same thing, but for like what job to go for.
Great, guys. We've run out of time. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. Our next event is going to be on the 8th of June, and there we'll be discussing the importance of community for your organization. And that's actually a lot of what we've talked about today as well, about building that sense of belonging to the brand. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you so much from everybody, and thank you to our wonderful panel today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Ciao.